The first thing you're going to want to do is take your frame apart and take out the cardboard insert and the glass insert. You can discard the glass insert, you're not going to need that. The cardboard insert you will need, so keep that. Then we're going to take a piece of burlap and we're just going to trace the cardboard around the burlap. I use a Sharpie because a pen doesn't really show up too well on the burlap and sometimes it gets caught in the little holes. Then we're just going to cut along the lines. This doesn't have to be perfect because we're going to trim it up later, you'll see. I'm going to go ahead and do this step twice because I feel like if you glue just one sheet of burlap to the cardboard, sometimes the cardboard seeps through the burlap and I don't want that to happen. So because of that, I'm going to do this step 2 times. Then I'm just going to hot glue the burlap to the cardboard. And then I'm going to take my second piece. I do want to make sure the corners are glued really good. So I'm just going to run my glue gun around the corners to make sure they're secure. Next, I'm going to glue my second piece of burlap on top of the first piece, just so the cardboard doesn't come through and I don't see, the brown from the cardboard seeping through the holes of the burlap. I'm going to do the same thing here then, and I'm going to go around and make sure that I have all the corners glued down nicely. Then I'm going to flip it. I'm going to flip around and I'm going to trim all the excess off so it's even with the cardboard. Now I'm going to glue down the edges. I should have done that first, but it doesn't matter how you do it actually. But you do want to make sure you glue them down nice. I am then going to take my frame apart, and my original plan was to stencil it while in the frame, but then I realized that my stencil was just a little bit too big to do it that way. So I actually had to take it out of the frame and just do it out of the frame. It still worked just as good. I put tape donuts on just to secure the frame in place so it doesn't move when I stencil it. That also helped it from bleeding. I then took some apple barrel paint and a pouncer, and I just dipped my pouncer in the paint, and then I pounced some off onto an extra piece of burlap, and then I just started pouncing the bunny. Make sure you pounce up and down, that way it doesn't bleed. I did do this onto a piece of burlap. I wouldn't recommend that because the paint did seep through the burlap onto my table, my work area, so I did have to wipe that off. I would recommend maybe a piece of cardboard or something like that. Just when you're doing this, make sure you get all the edges good. That way when you take it off, your bunny looks like a bunny and not a blob of paint. So I'm just going to gently peel that off. And it actually dries pretty quick. I think the burlap soaks a lot of it up. And now I'm going to go ahead and insert that into the frame, my bunny picture into the frame. Ta-da! Okay, so now we're just going to add a few finishing touches. I decided to add a bow to my bunny using some ribbon and some raffia. I just cut a piece of wired ribbon and scrunched it up in the middle, and then I wrapped some raffia around my hand, and I put that in the middle of my bow, and then I just secured it with a piece of twine. Now that it's secure, I'm just going to go ahead and trim up the edges and sort of just get my bow the size that I want and get it looking the way that I want it to look. Once it looks the way that I want it to look and the size I want it, then I'm going to go ahead and just cut those loose pieces of twine off and glue it down. Now, I also decided to add a little pom-pom for a tail, and I did coffee dye that. I think that was just the perfect finishing touch. What do you think?